Hey there, Matt Wicks from SSW TV here. We're here at NDC Sydney. I'm here with Magnus Martensson, and we're talking about making it easier to work with the cloud and for developers to do the right thing.
To do the right thing.
Magnus, how are you going?
Oh, it's going really well. I love it down here, and it's nice to be back in Sydney.
Awesome.
Yeah.
It's been, I remember you were here at the last one, I think.
Yes, the last one, and one more before then. This is my third.
Awesome. So, developers and deploying to the cloud, doing the right thing. I work with a lot of teams. I know there are a lot of developers out there that they work on apps. They get deployed to the cloud, but they don't see how the sausage is made, or maybe what guardrails need to be put in place so that it's a nice, reliable, secure experience.
Precisely, and they don't know how to do that, and they don't have that skill set. And quite honestly, they shouldn't need to have that skill set either. They should be developing applications and moving the business forward. So they need support. They need someone else to set that nice, soft, cushy landing spot, commonly known as a landing zone these days, right?
Yep.
There's the landing zone concept that you should have one. And when you have one, you should be able to do things in your landing zone as a developer, set up your application, do the things you need to do. But there's so much behind the scenes of that to enable that. So that's why I commonly refer to that as, there's this term falling into the pit of success, but I like to refer to it as making it easy for, to do the right thing.
It's a lot easier to land a plane on a runway than it is on a highway.
That's correct.
Yeah. So for when we're doing development or deploying applications, we usually use bicep files and infrastructure as code.
Sure.
That makes life a lot easier because then we're not clicking on
things in the Azure portal. Yeah.
What's sort of the? I'm guessing that's not the full picture though.
No. I mean, that's what happens again inside the landing zone. Whatever they want to do there is fair game.
You're talking about something.
We're outside of that. We're one step outside of that. Let's say that you have a service that's going to run on infrastructure or on resources in the Azure cloud. Except let's say that they need to connect to some other resource on the ground in whatever the company had on the ground before the cloud. So are they using, for example, an express route?
So
are they using
back to an on-premise service?
Yeah, exactly. Or are they using maybe an express route? Maybe not. But are they using like this network setup with a hub and spoke? Maybe that the landing zone is a spoke and it connects to something. And
that's
networking.
Yeah. I didn't know what you mean.
Right. Most developers just glaze over at this point. I'm gonna flip to the next video, right?
Yeah.
Because that's not the skill set of the developer who's building an application. They shouldn't need to know about these things.
And that's kind of the place where you want that specialization.
Yes.
So that it is done properly.
So then you get a central governance team, if you will. So my largest account right now is a public sector customer. Okay. So they have many different teams, many different workloads. We're talking, some of them are going to be like VMs migrating to the cloud, but also many of them will be modernizing to use native platform services and that sort of thing. But we're talking maybe in the range of, let's say, hundreds of landing zones or subscriptions that are going to be coming out over as fast a period of time as possible.
So why would it be hundreds? Is it just the sheer number of applications?
Yes, partially.
A landing zone, there's a production.
Yeah, there's that too, yes.
And there's a staging one.
One application might have typically between, let's say, 3-4 maybe different landings. They can have any number of landing zones if they care to split their thing into different pieces and so forth. It depends on their architecture, depends on what they are doing. But to that point, they should be able to get a landing zone which is connected if it needs to be connected, not connected if it's not supposed to be connected, depending on what it is, but set up with all the, it's called guardrails, right? All the policies around it and the proper access control, and all these things should just appear magically and work. It should be the proper tags for cost control. It should have a budget applied to it. The access that is set up should have access reviews, for example, so that the manager of the owner of that group who owns the security of that landing zone, that application, has to review access. Are the right team members in my access groups? All of those things that could be set up, but you don't want to. It's not practical to set that up manually. for hundreds of landing zones.
So it's like a group policy object.
That's a good likeness. Yes, very good likeness. Except now it's a subscription in the cloud, and it needs to have the right things in the right place. Yeah. So we are end to end setting up that automation, like everything from sowing the seeds to baking the bread. Like all the things need to work so that the end user, an application developer, team lead, or somebody can just go into the ITSM system and say, hey, click, 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 I want a landing zone, and they get that.
So ITSM?
Yeah. Just like, your whatever system that you use for ordering things in your company, right? It depends.
You fax them, you put in the fax.
Yeah. Well, whatever. Yeah, some kind of form, right?
Hopefully for something more advanced.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Hopefully. But the point is that you don't have to wait for it. It's going to arrive when you order it. You may have to wait a few minutes because it's something you need to provision a subscription. There are some things that need to actually happen. We're talking to like 3 different systems for making that happen. Like there's the billing system, the Azure, and then there's Entra for the access groups and these things, right? So all that needs to be set up and wired and put together. That person who orders this does not have access to set this up. And that person also does not have access to connect to the network. And they shouldn't have access to connect to the network either. But that is set up with automation so that they just receive the space, the nice cushy landing zone where they can just land their application and just do their thing.
I'm thinking of like a space shuttle landing. And
this is my picture as well. Yep, yeah. This is my picture as well. But it needs to be like that. And then, as many as they want, when they need them, hundreds of them, just go nuts and create all of them that you need.
The developers who are creating the applications,
yep.
They've got their pipelines.
Yeah, they
service principles.
They do all those things that they normally know how to do. Like they have their application, it builds probably on a build server, and it deploys using a pipeline. All that stuff they know, all that stuff they can manage and handle. That's not the difficult part, but again, some things that they don't even have access to do needs to be set up for them. And therefore, full automation, all the things, is what we are building for this, again, public sector customer. Like they have dozens of development teams.
Yep.
And these teams are great engineers, good people, except they don't have the cloud mileage. They haven't used the cloud, so they don't know how to set up infrastructure in the cloud. They don't know how to deploy application insights. They don't maybe even hardly know what application insights is yet.
Or maybe the corporation wants to aggregate all the analytics.
So that skill set is a skill set that a large organization that hasn't done cloud before doesn't have enough of. They don't have these people that know how to do that. So the risk of not having that is we're just going to grant the technical people all the access so they can do whatever they need to do, because when they stop asking us for access, we probably did something good, because now they're unable to do their thing. Except the reality is that you granted them way too much access, and they're now able to break all the things because they don't exactly know how to set them up properly. So they're not going to set them up properly. They're not going to be secure, not going to be compliant, not going to be optimized, and the logs and the metrics are not going to be set up in an appropriate way. The tags will not be in the right places, so the cost will be out of control, or we don't know. And that's the reality that we see out there, because a less technical person, a manager, there's a boardroom somewhere, the picture of people in a boardroom making a managerial decision that we shall now move to the cloud because it seems like everyone else is, and we will be doing that too. So their picture of this is, well, we had technical people doing technical things before the cloud. We will still have technical people doing technical things, except now in the cloud. They don't see a difference there. So they'll just grant all the access to the technical people and let them sort out the things. And that's where it all falls apart.
Okay.
Right? So that's why you need to be enabled and empowered as an application developer to do the right thing. Otherwise, you will be doing the things you understand to do, and they will not be the right thing.
So it's that the analogy, I think it was in a talk the other day, of you've got an oven.
Yeah.
When you have it in a kitchen, it's got a limit of 300 degrees or something like that. It doesn't go up to magma.
No, it doesn't do that.
Yeah.
No, exactly, and that's the problem.
If you've got that admin rights, you can do whatever you want. It kind of means you can do the bad thing.
And there's this magical thing here, this magical notion of accountability here.
Yeah.
That if you are empowered and there are guardrails and you're kind of protected, you have a space where you can do things, and that space can be monitored for, optimizations and things like that. And you can't do the wrong thing. Like, okay, so I'm from Sweden, I'm working with public sector. It's probably not a good idea if we upload, citizen data into a database that is in Southeast Asia. Yeah. That's probably a bad idea. We need to lock that down, at least geo-fence it so they cannot do that. It's not even possible. So that means that they have a space where they should have as much freedom as possible, but there are certain things that we have to abide by. And giving them that space empowers them and makes them bold enough to be able to want to try to do things rather than either being afraid of doing things and not doing them because of that, or completely missing the target and doing all the wrong things with cost running amok and all those things. So we want to give them that governance harness, shell around all that. But within that bubble, they can do whatever they want.
Yeah, there's enough room to experiment, but they're not
indeed.
Blow their blood. It's not going to blow up in their face.
Exactly. And we're going to help them with that. Let's say that you migrate some servers to the cloud. We had some servers before. We're going to run them in the cloud now. Okay, some of these service owners actually don't care where their services are running. But now when we move them to our own Azure cloud, we can now monitor them. We can help them monitor it for them and look at this from a cost per user or cost per performance kind of perspective and say, okay, we're noticing that these servers you're running are running a little cool. Like they're not doing much compared to they're costing too much compared to how much they are used. So we can now begin to propose to them that it would be a good optimization for us to actually put up a new project to migrate the application away from the server and put it on a PaaS service, which is auto-scaled or something fancy that you could do in the cloud, except they don't even know they can do that, right? It's not their fault, but at some point we have to start helping them to see the opportunities and incentivize, like, okay, we're saving tax money here if we're actually moving away from these old servers. And that is stuff that we can begin to help them with when they are in, well, it's their cloud, but it's our, support system around them.
So how do you get started in terms of learning about this? Learning
about all this. So you have to start looking at like the larger groups of challenges you have: the security, compliance, cost optimization. There's lots of learnings to be had here. For example, let's just take one example. In Azure, monitoring is under this big umbrella called Azure Monitor, appropriately named, and this happens to be, I think, the service from all that I know that has the best getting started information. It's literally there in the service on the start page. There's lots of videos. There are training modules that you can just go through. Let's say you take your whole team and you invest a day. Okay, today this whole team is going to do nothing but learn about Azure Monitor. Just that investment, which isn't so much, is going to come back so many times over because now this team understands what Azure Monitor is about, what it can do, and how probably you should do. They've done some labs and they've tried some things. Like that. Yeah, definitely. I think those investments are so well worth it because if your team doesn't have that skill set, they're going to do the diagnostics and logging using Perfmon and using logging to a file on the server, like the things that we used to do.
Yeah.
Because they don't necessarily know how to use these other services. Maybe they haven't hardly even heard of them.
So I learned KQL from the KQL Detective Agency.
Yeah.
It was heaps of fun.
Yeah.
And learned quite a valuable skill.
Yeah, exactly. And so, but now the AI is doing that for us. Maybe. We'll see.
We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. But to that point, right? So invest That's my advice to any manager or any director. If you're going to the cloud, please do invest in enough training to enhance and optimize and enable your company, your business, to actually start to really use those cloud native services that are there for the picking. If you knew how to use them, then that would be a great thing.
Okay, great. So thanks, Magnus. It's been great chatting to you about making it easier for developers to do the right thing in the cloud.
Thank you. It's nice being here.
Thank you. This is Matt Wicks from SSW TV signing off. See you later.